Yes, I know, the title of this video says that I'm flying to LaGuardia Airport, and I am not at an airport right now where there is service to LaGuardia. I am at the Vero Beach Regional Airport, and behind me is a JetBlue A320. This is one of JetBlue's special aircraft, the special paint scheme. It's actually one of their retro jets, and I've actually flown on this exact airplane. I've got a video on my channel about this aircraft that you can watch. It's the only JetBlue video on my channel, so make sure you check that video out. So I'm here to check out this airplane, but I have a flight today from the Palm Beach Airport to LaGuardia on Delta. What am I doing over here? Well, let's bring over this guy. Come here, say hi to the camera.
Hello everybody. Well, this is the flying Masella family. Today I'm flying back to White Plains, but on Breeze flight, which is leaving here around 4 o'clock this afternoon. Due to our scheduling, Peter was unable to fly with us back to White Plains, so he'll be flying out of Palm Beach, and we'll do our regular flight down to up to White Plains. Sorry for the noise, but you see it's an active airport today. We've already seen 2 JetBlue flights. We have another Breeze coming in about a half an hour or so. So the ramp will be a little congested today with at least 2 planes on it. But we're looking forward to our flight. It's a beautiful day today. A little chilly here in Florida. It was 32 degrees this morning. It's about 60 right now. And looking forward to New York, but not to the cold weather. It's going to be in the 30s when we land. So that's us. It's an unusual day. We're having a split screen, if you will, and a split flight schedule.
Yeah, that's the way it is today. So he just wanted to stop in and say hello. I'm gonna head on over to the Palm Beach Airport. Come along with me. All right, I'm heading down to PBI. It's basically all about schedule, but I will be getting more miles on Delta because I need them. So that's a good thing. And of course, I just love flying into LaGuardia. I'll take it over Westchester for those views. Let's see what the views are like tonight. I have to drive 82 miles now. The plan is for me to meet my dad this evening in the very cold New York City area after enjoying some time in the Florida sun. We're both hoping for crystal clear views tonight as we fly on similar but different routes. All right, I've arrived at PBI. Let's go flying. I had to put my sweater on. It's getting cold here in Florida, and it's going to be really cold in New York. As I enter the terminal, let's check in with Dad. He's on the way to runway 12 right at the Vero Beach Airport on a Breeze A220. He's seated on the left-hand side of the plane, ahead of the wing, and both he and I are hoping for some great New York City views, although my arrival to LaGuardia will be closer to the city tonight. As his flight gets closer to the runway, the tower puts his plane, Moxie 580, on the runway and gives traffic advisories at the airport.
Mox 580, there's a Cessna on a 2-mile final, runway 12 right, line up and wait, traffic crossing upfield.
12 right, line up wait, Moxie 580.
All that needs to be done is turn right and wait for takeoff clearance once the runway is clear.
Mox 580, fly heading 120, climb maintain 5,000, runway 12 right, cliff takeoff.
Okay, heading 120, 5,000, 12 right, cliff takeoff, Moxie 580.
Back at the Palm Beach International Airport, I'm doing my routine and working my way to the gate area where I was met with a beautiful sunset. It's all about timing. My flight is going to be a night flight today. That's just the schedule that I have to go by today. I'm at the gate. Today's call sign is Delta 2460. Yes, I've done that before. I'm super early, so I'm just going to wander around the terminal for a little bit first. Well, my dad's Breeze flight is making really good progress. They're getting ready to land. Let's go check in with him. His flight is now on the Buono arrival. That's for flights approaching Westchester Airport from the south. He's on the descent now, looking at the Jersey Shore as he moves out to the northeast over the Atlantic Ocean. He's seated on the left side of the plane because this approach takes you east of New York City and JFK, so it all should be visible from this side. Out there is Lower New York Bay at Sandy Hook, and that's Brooklyn on the right side. Here we can follow the Hudson River northbound to see the bright lights of Manhattan on its eastern bank. And on the eastern side of Jamaica Bay is Kennedy Airport with its long bay runway bordering the water. Moving further to the northeast over Long Island, we have a full view of Nassau County, JFK, and Manhattan. We can even see LaGuardia Airport, where I'll be landing later on tonight. For his flight, after some turns for the descent, he's ready to land on runway 16 at the Westchester County Airport.
Monkey 580, visual 1.
580, 12204, runway 16, clear land.
Runway 16, clear to land, Monkey 580.
Don't forget to check out the many videos I have on my channel of detailed flights to and from the Westchester County Airport. But for now, it's time to head back to Palm Beach, where I'm getting ready to board so I can meet my dad up north later. All right, everybody, boarding soon. That's not my gate behind me. It's just nice and quiet over here. A little bit about my seat today. Today, I got the upgrade to first class, so I'm seated in the first row of the aircraft on the right-hand side of the aircraft. LaGuardia is landing on runway 22, which is one of my favorite runways at LaGuardia, of course. Right now they're doing left traffic. I'm hoping for right traffic a little bit later on because that side of the aircraft would provide the great views, but let's see what happens. I'm checking those winds again, and I'm telling you, this happens all the time. At the time of my arrival, the winds are basically going straight down runway 22, so it could be right or left traffic. I just hope it changes. We're going to have to see what happens. Today we should be flying a 070 degree heading after takeoff. That's always quite interesting. The left turn after takeoff is to avoid flying directly over Mar-A-Lago. More on that later. Today's tail number is November 101 Delta, Quebec. I'm going to try to see my aircraft, but it's just too bright in here. Here's 101 DQ landing on the same runway that I'll be taking off on. It's the primary runway here at PBI. It's time for boarding. Today I'm in Zone 1. And I'm the first on board. There's no underseat storage in row 1, so I need the overhead space. Here's the view in front of me. It's a wall, and on the wall I keep the IFE screen to the map so I know where I am at all times. And here's the view from my window in row 1.
As you get settled, please place those smaller items under the seat in front of you.
Should be pushing back. We're scheduled to push back in about 13 minutes. We're going to try to go a little bit earlier. Once we are in the air, a quick 2 hours and 6 minutes tonight up to New York, where it is currently freezing. It is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know why you people want to go up there. It is. Other than that, it's a nice clear night, but very chilly. They're going to have some snow in the morning, possibly some rain as well. I live there, so I have to deal with it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boarding door has closed. And we're almost ready to go. Need to ensure all passengers seated with their seatbelts securely fastened.
We're ready for pushback. We're leaving from gate Charlie 2, which is one of the closest gates to the landside part of the terminal. The tug pushes us back, so our nose is facing outward. As we push back, now is a good time to discuss our departure off of runway 10 left today. The typical climb out for runway 10 left is to fly straight out runway heading, but there's a flight restriction in effect over Mar-A-Lago, which is straight out off of the end of the runway. Since we're not allowed to fly over Mar-A-Lago, the controller will issue us a 70 degree heading, which means that immediately after takeoff, we'll turn left to avoid Mar-A-Lago. Our initial departure fix is Slides, which is to the northeast of Palm Beach Airport off the coast of Jupiter. Now, 70 degrees, our assigned heading, points us nearly directly towards Slides. At the time of takeoff, we'll be the only plane using Slides, so with low slide demand, the departure controller will clear us immediately to Slides as soon as we check in when airborne. We're going to be sliding right out of this airspace via the most direct path to our departure fix on our way to LaGuardia. This is going to be a very, very efficient departure today. And now that we've come to a stop and the tug has been removed, it's time to check in with Palm Beach Ground Control, where we'll receive some very efficient taxi instructions to get to the runway.
Ground Delta 2460, off of Charlie 2, ready for takeoff.
Delta 2460, Palm Beach Ground, runway 10 left, taxi via Charlie, cross 14.
10 left via Charlie, cross runway 14, Delta 2460.
It's always great to hear that we're cleared across a runway upon initial check-in with ground control. We're cleared across runway 14. All we need to do is take taxiway Charlie to the end, and once we get there, we switch over to the tower frequency. In a moment, we'll leave the terminal ramp area and we'll enter the taxiway system. Once out there, you'll see lots of blue lights on the ground indicating the edges of the taxiways. All we need to do is just taxi parallel to our runway in the opposite direction of takeoff, all the way to the end. Here you can see we're crossing runway 14. We'll cross this runway once again once we're on our takeoff roll. In the cockpit, the pilots are switching to the tower frequency, waiting for clearance to enter the runway. Being an efficient operation tonight, the tower is not only going to have us enter the runway without coming to a stop, he's going to issue us takeoff clearance without even having us line up and wait. There's another plane on approach, Delta 1058 from Atlanta, that will check in after we get our takeoff clearance, but that plane is so far out that it's not a factor for us at all. Here comes our takeoff clearance with a command to turn left to 70 degrees and to climb to 4,000 feet. Get ready for that 070 heading.
Delta 2460, Palm Beach Tower, turn left, heading 070, maintain 4,000, runway 10 left, clear for takeoff.
Heading 070, maintain 4,000, 10 left, clear for takeoff for Delta.
Tower Delta 1058, visual 10 left.
Delta 1058, Palm Beach Tower, good evening, runway 10 left, clear to land.
Clear to land, 10 left, Delta 1058.
Take you on station there?
No, we're pretty just back to
Eagle 3, alright. Landing at the ramp will be on the risk. The winds are calm, remain south of 10 left. Delta 2460, contact departure.
Good night, Delta 2460.
All right, we're airborne and are about to start our turn to 70 degrees. As instructed by the tower controller, let's check in with the Palm Beach departure controller now.
Departure, Delta 2460, 1300, climb at 4,000. Delta 2460, Palm Beach departure, radar contact, clear drift, slides, maintain 5,000. Start to slide, 5,000, Delta 2460.
We're sliding right out to slides. That's one of the quickest clearances to the initial departure fix that I've ever received after takeoff. The controller also cleared us past 4,000 feet to 5,000 feet. As we proceed towards slides off the coast of Jupiter, we really don't notice any additional turns after the 70-degree left turn, as 70 degrees points us towards slide to begin with. What a great view south. In a moment, we'll be over the barrier island of Palm Beach and north of the reason for this heading, Mar-A-Lago. If you follow the bridge, Mar-A-Lago is located at the end of the bridge on this side of the bridge between the sea, also known as the Mar, and the lake, also known as Lago. We'll keep this heading until we get to slides, and then we'll proceed on course via the air routes up to New York. If I were seated on the left side, I would have had a really good view of the downtown buildings of West Palm Beach, but I'm here for the New York City view later on, and still at this moment, the wind is forecast to be straight down runway 22 at the time of landing, so I don't know if we'll get a left or right turn to the runway 22 final approach course. Of course, I'm hoping for a right-hand turn, because that typically would bring us up the Hudson River, and my seat is, of course, on the right side of the plane for that. Eventually, the current controller assigned us higher altitudes and handed us off to the Miami Air Route Traffic Control Center, but I'll move forward to the en route phase of flight. Shortly after the initial climb, I had a distant view of the lights of the islands of the Bahamas. You can see how we're flying between the USA and the Bahamas here. It wasn't until Jacksonville, North Carolina, where we started the land portion of the flight. Down there is Greenville, North Carolina. I spent the whole time searching for cities, and I forgot that I had been upgraded to first class. I didn't even take advantage of the meal service, as I looked at that as a distraction. There goes Norfolk and Newport News, Virginia. We then started down on the proud arrival to LaGuardia and checked in with New York Approach Control.
Approach Delta 2460, right, 14,000 on the Proudly Sierra. Delta 2460, altimeter 3008.
We're on the proud arrival, which is for arrivals from the south like us. We're over New Jersey and are headed towards the New York City area. I'm hoping for radar vectors up the Hudson so we make right traffic to runway 22. This will likely allow Manhattan to be on this side of the plane. I'm hoping the controller does not clear us directly to the LaGuardia VOR. That would mean left traffic to runway 22.
Delta 2460, clear direct to LaGuardia, descend and maintain 8,000.
Direct LaGuardia 8,000, Delta 2460.
Oh no. Proceeding directly toward LaGuardia sets us up for flying east of LaGuardia for left traffic. Here's the next transmission.
Delta 2460, descend and maintain 4,000.
4,000, 2460.
So we're going to fly down to 4,000 feet and are flying directly to the LaGuardia VOR navigational aid, which is physically located at LaGuardia right off the runway 22 pier. Having us fly directly toward LaGuardia from where we are now will put us over Brooklyn and Queens and keeps us west of busy JFK airspace. Once we're a few miles south of LaGuardia, the controller will turn us to the right to 70 degrees, still keeping us between LaGuardia and JFK so that we can enter a left downwind leg to runway 22 and then make a U-turn around to land on runway 22. This is very disappointing, but tonight's approach was so hard to predict since the wind was forecast to come from nearly straight down the runway, but tonight they're doing left traffic to runway 22 because runway 31 is the departure runway and flights departing runway 31 climb west of the airport, so we can't fly up the Hudson or be near Manhattan at all. Those seated on the left side of the plane, however, will not only get excellent Manhattan views, they'll also get to see LaGuardia Airport as we fly around it before landing. I'm so disappointed, but tonight was a real gamble, making it really hard to determine which side of the plane to sit on. Okay, we've entered the New York City area and are flying an approximate 40-degree heading straight toward LaGuardia Airport. In a moment, all of Manhattan is going to be visible on the other side of the plane. We're looking at Brooklyn from 4,000 feet. It's a clean and crisp winter evening with great visibility. In a moment, the controller will turn us right to 70 degrees, which roughly follows the path of the Long Island Expressway. This is nearly the same flight path as what's known as the RNAV X-ray runway 31 approach and formerly known as the Expressway Visual approach. It would have been at a lower altitude, but will mimic the first turn of that approach. That approach is only used for landing on runway 31 after following the approximate path of the LIE. Then we would turn left over Flushing Meadows Corona Park at a very low altitude and land on runway 31. Tonight, we'll be on the 70-degree heading at 4,000 feet, which is way too high to land on runway 31. If traffic were light, we could have potentially landed on runway 31, as it's also the departure runway. This would have saved us some time, but runway 22 isn't used this evening, so we're not quite ready to touch down.
Delta 2460, charting 070.
070, Delta 2460.
The 70-degree heading is the setup for the downwind leg. Once we level off on 70 degrees, we need to wait until the controller calls the next left turn to the northeast. A downwind leg is flight in the opposite direction of landing, so I'm expecting a left turn to 40 degrees, the opposite direction of runway heading of 220 degrees. Out there on the left, we can see Kennedy Airport. The runway configurations of JFK matches the runway configurations of LaGuardia, except that JFK has parallel runways. The 422-1331 layout at LaGuardia is mimicked at JFK, with each 422-1331 having both a right and a left. Our flight path is a result of the runway configuration at both airports. And if we were to keep this 70-degree heading, we would intercept JFK's runways 22's approach courses, so we'll have to turn left eventually. LaGuardia is just off to our left. Today we'll be on the 70-degree heading until we reach Little Neck Bay. Little Neck Bay is one of the dividing points between Queens and Nassau County. We'll be flying into the northwestern reaches of Nassau County until the north shore of Long Island for a little bit before turning back around into the Bronx. Can you believe that we're still talking to the same controller since we were at 14,000 feet over New Jersey? That's a huge area to cover in busy airspace. That same controller is now going to issue us a speed restriction.
Delta 2460, reduce speed to 180.
On 180, Delta 2460.
That's a nice view of the Unisphere down there in Flushing Meadows Corona Park. We'd be circling it if we were to land on runway 31. Now, for a quick moment, I want you to hear another pilot who's flying behind us get clearance down to 4,000 feet.
Fairwinds 1995, descend and maintain 4,000.
Descend maintain 4,000, Springs 1995.
Did you catch that call sign? It's Spirit Wings 1995. Spirit Wings is the call sign for Spirit Airlines, and I have a ticket booked for that exact flight, so please stay tuned for a flight to LaGuardia on Spirit Airlines Flight 1995. Yes, I'll actually be flying on an airline other than Delta on this channel. Here's some footage from the upcoming video on Spirit Airlines. Well, for us, it's now time for the left downwind leg.
Delta 2460, turn left heading 040. 040, Delta 2460.
On the right is Queens, and on the left is Nassau County, and way in the distance is the Atlantic Ocean. Once we roll out on our 40-degree heading, we'll remain there until the controller has us turn our left base leg. The left base leg will occur at a period when we're safely separated behind the aircraft that's in front of us, but we need to get down lower first. We've been at 4,000 feet for a while, and it's now time to get clearance to the last assigned altitude from ATC.
Delta 2460 to set and maintain 2,000. 2,000 Delta 2460.
All that's left is that we need to turn to the left around Long Island Sound. Traffic this evening is light, and the traffic in front of us is at a sufficient distance for the controller to issue us a left base leg. The controller is going to give us a 90-degree turn to the left to 310 degrees, and will ask the pilot to advise when he has the field in sight. Chances are high that we'll fly a visual approach this evening with the great visibility out there.
Delta 2460, turn left heading 310, advise the field.
Left turn 310, we'll let you know at this moment, Delta 2460.
The pilot should have the field in sight in a moment. I know that if I were seated on the left-hand side of the plane, I'd be searching for the airport off to the left. Once the pilot reports the airport in sight, he'll be cleared for a visual approach to runway 22 and will be handed off to the tower at the airport. The 310-degree turn that is now being made over the Long Island Sound can be extended further to the left as the pilot lines up at the runway along the Bronx's eastern shoreline.
Delta 2460, we got it. Delta 2460, cleared visual approach, runway 22, contact 40 tower, 18.7. Cleared visual 22, and over the tower, Delta 20.
While on the left base leg over Long Island Sound turning left, we're now going to check in with LaGuardia Tower at the airport.
Tower Delta 2460, visual 22.
Delta 2460, LaGuardia, wind 2106, runway 22, clear to land.
22, clear to land, Delta 2460.
We're clear to land on runway 22. Right now we're looking up the Long Island Sound shoreline in Westchester County, but it will eventually become the Bronx. The controller cleared us to land right away because there's traffic in front of us, but it's about to touch down already, and there's really nothing else that would prevent us from landing. All that previous arrival needs to do is vacate the runway for us. I didn't get the Manhattan or downtown Palm Beach views, but I get to see this city skyline in lower Westchester County. This is New Rochelle, New York, and its skyline has been growing rapidly in the last few years. Here, we're almost lined up with runway 22. Emerging from the city of New Rochelle is Interstate 95. We'll be paralleling its course and will eventually fly directly over it as we get closer to the runway as it winds a bit. We can descend below 2,000 feet and simply head directly toward the runway. The pilots can use navigational guidance as well to guide them laterally and horizontally toward the runway to help make things more precise. Runway 22 also has an offset approach, which keeps planes over the water a little bit further east, but today it's a straight-in landing. Remember that we're going in the complete opposite direction that we were flying when we were over Brooklyn a few minutes ago. We've now entered the Bronx at Pelham Bay Park, which is the dark area that you see at the bottom of the screen. If an aircraft were to depart on runway 4, which is the opposite direction of runway 22, and climb into the airspace that we're in now, they'd be flying what's called the Pelham climb. Departures get to fly procedures named for what's below, but arrivals just fly straight in. If we were on the ILS approach to runway 22, we would be flying over a fix called Greco, which is around where we are right now. I've always wondered what Greco meant, but I could never figure it out. In any case, the view all the way down features the eastern Bronx. The view on the other side of the plane allows passengers to see City Island and the Long Island Sound. They'll see more of the Bronx on about a 3-mile final as the Throgs Neck Peninsula juts out into the water, forming the intersection of the Long Island Sound and the East River. Left side passengers will also see the Throgs Neck and Whitestone bridges. They're actually visible to them for a second time as they were able to see them when we were on our 70 and 40-degree headings earlier. We'll overfly the East River after passing over the southeastern parts of the Bronx before landing on the runway 22 pier. Let's land on runway 22. We've slowed down and the terminal is off to our left. The controller tells us to make 2 left turns and contact ground control.
Delta 2460 to left and contact ground connection.
Sure, left, contact ground, Delta 2460.
The first left turn is onto a high-speed taxiway, which is designed at an angle so that aircraft can continue to slow down while off of the runway, but we've slowed down enough on the runway itself to be at a normal taxi speed. The high-speed taxiways all lead to taxiway Bravo, which parallels runway 22. Once on Bravo, the aircraft is facing the complete opposite direction of runway 22. Bravo is the first long taxiway that rivals the terminal B and C used to get to their terminal. We're now going to check in with LaGuardia ground control on taxiway Bravo. The controller is physically next to the controller that we just spoke to in the tower.
Ground, Delta 2460, coming up at Bravo.
Delta 2460 LaGuardia ground taxi Bravo Echo Alpha lane 15.
Bravo Echo Alpha lane 15, Delta 2460.
The controller told us to take taxiways Bravo, Echo, and Alpha to lane 15. Echo is a transition taxiway midway down runway 22 that allows aircraft to switch to taxiway Alpha, a taxiway that primarily parallels runway 1331 along with taxiway Bravo. So essentially, along runway 1331, there are 2 parallel runways between the runway and the terminal, but for runway 4, there's only 1. Today, we'll go to gate 72, which is accessed via lane 15. Let's get to the gate and get off the plane. I need to meet my dad. All right, everybody, I made it to New York City. It is really cold here. And look who's here with me in New York.
Yeah, I made it a little bit earlier this evening, Vero Beach to HPN. So here we are back in New York.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on my flight from PBI to LGA. Remember that I'll be back with another video again real soon, so make sure you hit that subscribe button.